Alright, so Arks, or Arlen, and myself, Shammeh, and Liam are here to talk about why you would want to play Dark Elves, and we're going to be going over it rather extensively. Arlen says that he wants to play Dark Elves maybe in our next campaign,
Maybe.
So it's an idea, and they have a lot of things going for them. So let's get into their racial benefits, the actual reason why you might want to play a Dark Elf, what makes them special.
So, first off, just like the High Elves, they have always strikes first across pretty much the entire army. Anything that's an elf has always strikes first, which is definitely a huge benefit.
Yeah, they gained that from their previous edition. It's one of the major changes.
But some of the Dark Elf exclusive stuff, we have Murderous Prowess, whilst with the special rule, reroll all to wound rolls of a 1 when making close combat attacks.
Yeah, and this is something along the lines of what the High Elves have. They have Martial Prowess, which gives them an extra rank of attacks for supporting attacks for pretty much everything that they do. So the trade-off for the Dark Elves is they don't have that extra rank, but they get the rerolls of 1s.
Which is very nice, because if you're wounding on 2s, if you get any misses, you can reroll them.
Yeah, so when you have high strength, it almost equals a flat-out reroll. So that is pretty nice, and there are a lot of high-strength stuff in the Dark Elf army. And even if you're low strength, you still get those rerolls. So.
Which is very nice.
Yeah. What else they got there?
And Hekarti's Blessing, which is just like the High Elf lore, you get +1 to cast Dark Magic. This is on all the wizards.
Yeah,
Nothing.
Dark Magic is their specific lore. So, yeah, just like High Elves, if you have a level 4 wizard casting spells from their specific lore, they get +5 to cast, which is pretty damn nice.
Yeah, if you have a level 4 wizard.
And
Very,
it's for
very
free.
nice.
Yeah. They also made it so that the Dark Elves wizards can take all of the 8 lores of magic, which they weren't able to do before, so now you can take any lore of magic on your wizards.
You can have Dark Elves with Lore of Life.
Yeah. Or light, which makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
And last, we have Eternal Hatred. This isn't across the whole army anymore. I believe only a couple special characters and Blackguard get it now.
Yeah, very...
But it is hatred for every round of combat, not just the beginning of it.
Yeah. And then we have the armory of their special weapons. They still have the repeater crossbow, pretty much unchanged from the previous edition. So that's 24-inch range. It's a strength of 3 and it's armor piercing. It is valued a little bit more highly than longbows. Longbows are 30-inch range, strength of 3, and they can move and shoot and all that sort of stuff. So can the repeater crossbows, though. They're not a move or shoot weapon. They're just a standard weapon, 24-inch range, strength of 3.
Yeah, and multiple shots, of course, because they're repeaters. And repeater handbow, half the range, no armor piercing, but basically the same thing. It's also quick to fire, so you don't get a penalty for move and shoot.
Yeah, and you can get a brace of them now, so you can actually get a multi-shot of 4 with a range of 12 and a strength of 3. It's not armor piercing, but it's like a repeater handgun, brace of repeater handguns for the Empire without the armor piercing portion.
And last, the Sea Dragon Cloak. Very nice item. It's pretty much heavy armor. It gives you scaly skin 5+. There's a couple units in the game that have this, and you can put it on your heroes.
You can put it on like all of your characters. Your basic lords and heroes will be able to wear this, and so what it means is that you get a very, very easy, very good armor save on all of your heroes. Your heroes are still, and lords are still going to be toughness 3 because they're elves. And that we'll get into the special thing about elves, the fact that if you're an elf, you do not have above toughness 3, unless you're a very special character.
Or mounted.
Yeah, and that's only because the mount has a better toughness than you do.
Yeah, toughness 3 across the board.
Yeah, they are toughness 3 across the board. And they, with the armor saves, though, they are the best armored infantry characters in the game without magical items, because you can take the 5+ scaly skin, heavy armor, and a shield, and be at 2+ just with basic equipment.
With basic equipment.
And it's very easy to get yourself to a 1+ with like an enchanted shield or whatever from the common magic items. So let's look at Dark Elves, their stats compared to normal humans. So the average stat line for everything human-wise is like 3 across the boards except for leadership, which is 7, and wounds, which is 1, of course, and a movement of 4. The Dark Elves have a movement of 5 because they're elves. Their weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4. Their initiative is 5 base, correct?
Yeah.
With the always strikes first. What that translates to is like always strikes first, you get to reroll hits against things that are equal to or below your initiative. So unless you're wielding a great weapon, because the always strikes last of the great weapon will cancel out the always strikes first and make it so you don't get the rerolls, but you still strike at an initiative order, which is very high for elves. you'll get a reroll against pretty much every core unit in the game. The highest, that's not elves. Pretty much you get rerolls against everybody that's not elves.
Pretty much.
Yeah, even Chaos Warriors are initiative 5, so you'll still get rerolls against them, which is pretty
you'll be hitting
impressive.
a lot, and Murderous Prowess helps with the wounding a little bit.
Yeah, they have a base leadership of 8 as well. And so just with those straight stats, you can see that they are faster in both maneuverable terms and initiative terms, and with their special rules, they will almost always strike first against anybody that's not an elf, and get to reroll their hits. So it's a great benefit for being a Dark Elf, or an elf, in general now. I think when they release the Wood Elves, they'll probably give them all always strikes first as well. It seems to be the thing for elves now. So elves are pretty damn good. The other thing about elves, though, is generally they have less strength than most other races. There are some races like ogres or saurus or other races like that have a base strength of 4. They don't have that, and
most elves are 3.
Yeah, most elves are. They do have some elves that are strength 4 though in their infantry and in their cavalry. So. Unlike the High Elves, who only have a single type of unit that is strength 4, which are the White Lions, they have more than a few. So they do have a bit more strength, and they have a lot of armor piercing in their army. There's a theme of barbed weapons apparently being armor piercing. Yeah, they are good. Not especially tough, because elves aren't tough.
Elves are never tough.
Yeah, they're the only characters they're the only people with characters that have toughness 3.
Yeah.
When they did that back in like 6th edition, it was rather controversial the fact that they did it, because nobody had toughness 3 at that time.
Yeah.
For lords.
All right, moving on to the core here.
Yeah, let's go to the core.
So. They have 3 different units. They have the Bleak Swords, the Dread Spears, and the Dark Shards. They're all just warriors with different equipment. They're your base warriors. One has... The Dark Shards have the Repeater Crossbow. All of these guys have light armor as well.
Yeah.
The Dread Spears are just spearmen. And the Bleak Swords are your basic sword and shield infantry.
Yeah, so unlike the ranged unit for the High Elves, which has a longbow, and is slightly cheaper than the Repeater Crossbows, one of the reasons they are cheaper is because they have the option of light armor. They don't have to take it, whereas the Dark Elves have to take that light armor, so it makes them slightly more expensive than the High Elf. And like I said, the Repeater is valued a little bit more than the Longbow, so they do cost a little bit more. Whereas everything else costs exactly the same points as like an Elven Spearman. So they're exactly even in that regard. And even with the different rules for the Dark Elves versus the High Elves, the High Elves having the martial prowess and the Dark Elves having the murderous prowess, if you work it out, it works out to be amazingly even. The larger you have your units for the High Elves, the more benefit they get from the martial prowess, but as combat goes along and units get to be smaller sized, the Dark Elves have the edge with murderous prowess. So there's very even combat going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have the exact same stats and equipment for the same points. They're pretty damn standard. They have other things that have been moved to core, and other core choices as well. The Corsairs are actually pretty damn good. They've got the Sea Dragon Cloak, and you can equip them in a few different ways. You can give them additional hand weapons, which is pretty standard.
Pretty much what you would do.
Pretty much what you would do. You can give them the hand bows, but with them only being a 12-inch range, and not being armor piercing, and being fairly expensive, the same price as giving them additional hand weapons, it's not really worth it, just because of the 12-inch range.
Yeah, it's also one or the other. If you're going
you
with your
can't
hand
choose
bows,
both?
no.
Oh.
It's one of the following: additional hand weapons or repeater hand bows. So
Yeah.
pretty much all the time you'd want additional hand weapons. They got a 4-up armor save though, but other than that,
Yeah.
they're your base elf.
That's a 4-up armor save with light armor because of the Sea Dragon Cloak. So they're toughness 3, 4+ armor save. Elves. For core, that's pretty damn good to have a 4+ armor save in core.
Yeah,
for infantry.
They aren't expensive either.
Yeah, they're a bit more than your other core units, but not by much, if you give them additional hand weapons.
Yeah.
The Dark Riders are their fast cavalry, and they're in core now, and they're a lot more affordable than they used to be. They used to be 20 some odd points or something like that, especially in the older editions where fast cavalry was really overvalued. But they are significantly cheaper now, totally within realm of a plausibility to take. Even when you give them repeater crossbows. Yeah, repeater crossbows. Can they take crossbows and spears?
They come with spears base. You can take shields for additional. And yeah, they can take both of them. So you can actually get them to a 4-up armor save as well, because light armor mounted and then shield.
Oh, they have light armor?
Yep, they have light
do.
armor.
Yeah, okay, so they have 4+. That's not too bad for fast cavalry. Most of the time it's only 5. And then the Witch Elves, which are going to be really popular, and you're going to see a lot of these.
And way too expensive money-wise.
Yeah, the box set that they released for the Witch Elves is exorbitantly expensive. It's almost twice the cost of any other box set they've released, and it's like $10 or $20 more expensive Canadian than their special units.
Yeah,
and their core.
It's just 10 core.
Yeah, I'm personally not a fan of their models either. Really don't like them, but some people might, I guess. I'm not a fan of the poses or the fact that they're all standing like on their tippy toes on rocks. I don't like that at all. But they are going to be really popular because they're core. They got moved from special to core. I think they're about the same points as they used to be, but they are literally a naked elf. They don't have light armor at all.
Yeah,
right?
they don't have any armor at all.
They're a naked elf with 2-hand weapons, frenzy, and poison attacks. And so, make it that way you will. They have a lot of synergy with a lot of stuff later on in the list, but
by themselves, not really.
Yeah, but they're going to be a favorite. You will see a lot of them because they have the potential to be absolutely devastating in combat. It'll be one of the most killy units that you'll ever go against in Warhammer, especially against people without a high armor save, because of their other special units, especially their other heroes that they can take. We'll get to the shrine that has a lot of synergy with them and buffs them later, the Cauldron of Blood. You have to take a hero. You have to mount a hero on the thing to take it, and you don't give a shit about the hero on top of it, but you just want that Cauldron of Blood.
It's very good.
But the named Witch Elf hero is also amazingly good, and we'll get to her soon as well. She's paper thin for survivability, but her offensive capabilities are amazing.
Yeah.
So you will see that list. You will see a 40 block of Witch Elves with a Cauldron of Blood and that special character, and all of those, like, they'll be over 1,000 points in one unit.
But they will kill nearly anything.
Yeah, but they are also going to be paper thin, and so bring bows.
A couple things to note here, though. Aside from the regular stuff that we just mentioned, they have one more initiative than your regular core elves, so they'll be re-rolling on a higher initiative.
Yeah, against like all characters.
Pretty much everything.
They don't have a higher weapon skill though. They are straight regular weapon skill. They're besides the extra initiative, they are regular stat elves. So. And
another thing to note is putting your characters in here is a bad idea unless they're already witch elves. Right. They have the Madness of Cain rule. At the end of each of your turns, roll a d6 for each of your characters that is in a unit of Witch Elves. And you don't roll for Assassins, Shadowblade, Death Hags, or Hellebron, which is the Witch Elf hero.
Yeah, and the Assassin
Yeah, Shadowblade, the Assassin hero as well. On a score of 4+, nothing happens. On a score of 3 or less, that character immediately suffers d6 strength 3 hits as the Witch Elves lose all control and turn on their ally. You don't want to hide your wizard in this unit.
Yeah, they might not be too bad for a BSB though, because he'll have a 1+ armor save easy, and so strength 3 hits don't really bother him.
Yeah.
So you might not care about putting your BSB in with your Witch Elves. You'll have to roll from every turn, it'll be kind of annoying, but he probably won't really give a shit.
50-50 chance he'll take the hits, and then he still has to die from them.
Yeah, especially if you have if you have the item from the common magic items that allows him to reroll armor saves, he's pretty much never going to take a win from those Witch Elves. So that is something that you could also see as well. They have the spell lore as well. We were going to go over that for the Dark Elves. I guess we could get to that when we get to the actual casters.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the heroes and whatnot.
Yeah, because we got special units here, and they have quite a bit of. They actually have they've added units that are decent in both special and rare. They've changed the Hydras, thank God.
They're special now, though, but we'll get to them.
Yeah, they are special. We're on special now. So what do we got here? The Cold One Knights. The Cold Ones have been changed to be like the Lizardman book. So the Cold Ones themselves have 2 attacks at Strength 4 now. Pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Cold One Riders were previously Strength 4, but they are now, and that is great. With Lances, they're Strength 6 on the charge. Awesome.
Yeah, and they come with Lance, Heavy Armor, Shield, plus the Cold One gives them an extra 2 to their armor save.
Yeah, they have a 2+ armor save, and they are fully equipped. Like, you don't have to buy the extra barding or shield or anything like that, so there's no options in that regard, but they are solid, because they're Toughness 4, 2+ armor save cavalry for elves. with 3 attacks per model, 2 from the mount, and strength 6 on the charge from the rider. Not on the charge, they're all strength 4.
Yeah.
Super good.
Yeah, strength 4. They still have initiative 6 as well, so
Yeah,
if that
the
makes
cold
a difference.
the cold ones too.
Yeah, the cold ones do. Cold
Yeah.
one is, it's still got its 2 attacks.
He
It's
doesn't.
still very nice.
Yeah, the cold one does not get the rerolls for ones to wound, and he does not get the always strikes first of the army. But there's still like 2 strength 4 attacks on a mount is a lot more than you'll see on anybody else riding, including Chaos Warriors.
Yeah, and the cold ones themselves have stupidity, but these guys are leadership 9 by themselves. This is as much as most heroes and lords that people have, so they're not going to suffer from stupidity very often.
That actually, with a high enough leadership, stupidity is more of a benefit than a detriment because it makes you immune to psychology. So as long as you continue to pass your stupidity test, upon occasion, in a battle, you will fail it and it will suck. But so long as you continuously pass them, it makes them immune to psychology, which is awesome. Immune to fear, terror, and panic.
Alright, moving on to the Blackguard then, which is the Dark Elf version of Phoenix Guard.
Yeah, not so much.
Not as good as the Phoenix Guard, but they have their own perks.
They have some things, and some people have been saying that they would probably take them. I would not personally. They are more expensive than a lot of other way better choices. Like, what do they have special about them? They got an extra weapon skill over a regular elf.
They have an extra weapon skill. They have the better initiative. They have 2 attacks.
They have an
unlike
extra
the
attack
Phoenix.
and an extra leadership. So the extra 2 attacks, the thing is, these guys are strength 3. When almost every other elite unit that you have with the Dark Elves is actually strength 4. Plus their weapons. So being strength 3 with a halberd makes them strength 4. They might as well fucking tickle people to death.
Yeah, and they aren't cheap either.
Yeah, not cheap at all.
Like
they are the same price as Phoenix Guard.
Yeah, they're the same price, but they don't come with the 4.
Yeah, they only have 4+ ward that you can improve with your high magic.
What they have instead, they have stubborn and immune to psychology and eternal hatred. So these are one of the basic units that actually get their rerolls every turn, no matter what their initiative.
Yeah,
but they will melt because all they have is heavy armor.
If you are going to take them, you want them in small units because they have 2 attacks, so you lose attacks from supporting attacks the more you have. Because you'll just have you'll be paying the points for getting 2 attacks, but not actually getting the worth out of it. And the smaller units generally are better with stubborn, and the fact that they're immune to psychology, and all of that will actually make them somewhat decent flankers. Not really. You have way better flankers in this army, and these ones are exorbitantly expensive. There's no real reason to take them.
Yeah, so not really recommended.
Yeah, I wouldn't take them, but I'm sure you can find a use for them. They are stubborn and immune to psychology, and they have 2 attacks each, so they could chew through some skirmishers. Some skinks.
Some skinks.
They win skinks on 2s.
That's amazing.
And then they have their scouting skirmishers, which I don't think...
Shades.
Yeah, I don't think that they've had this option before, but they can now take great weapons. So
Yeah.
I believe they're the only scouting skirmishers in the game that can take great weapons
Yeah.
at a reasonable price too.
So you'll have initiative 5, not always strikes first because the great weapon cancels that out.
Yeah.
Initiative 5, strength 5 skirmishers.
And their weapon
with
skill,
scouts.
their weapon skill 5 and ballistic skill 5. Do they come with repeaters, or do you have to add
They
it?
come with repeater crossbows.
Yeah, they come with repeater
You
crossbows.
have to add the great weapon.
So they are expensive per point model. They are the exact same price as your Dark Riders, your Fast Cavalry and Corps. But they're, not riding a mount. They're still about as survivable, though. Skirmishers and Fast Cavalry are about the same. Except, I guess, the Dark Riders can get the 4+ armor save,
Yeah.
so, that's nice. But, yeah, it might be worth taking a small unit. The minimum unit size is 5, I believe.
Yeah.
And that would probably make them not too unreasonable, and
Yeah,
they could
and
fuck up
scouts.
they could fuck up a war machine. They'd strength 5 elves. So,
Nope.
strength 5 weapon skill 5 elves.
Yeah.
They make Goblin War Machine hit them on 5s. So
Yeah.
there's that.
So yeah, I would take these a unit of 5 pretty much whenever I could fit the points because you only need to take 5. They'll do their job just fine.
Yeah, I would recommend taking Dark Riders. Like we were talking about core before, and like what you would take for to get yourself up to a standard 2,500 point list. And you don't want to take too many repeater crossbows. They obviously are a very nice choice because they have 2 attacks each. So if you take a unit of 20, they have 40 attacks. And ballistic skill 4 with the -1 to multi-shot, you still have so many attacks. It's ridiculous. So, but you don't want to fill up your entire deployment zone with people that are shooting because you'll actually run yourself out of room. Without having the martial prowess that the elves have, you can only shoot in 2 ranks like everybody else.
Yeah.
So an elf can take a unit of 30 and have it only be a fronted to 10 and get all 30 shots. Don't have that luxury with the Dark Elves.
Don't have that luxury. But yeah, we'll talk about
we'll talk
army
about
setup once we're done going through all the units. But next one, Cold One Chariot.
Yeah. I like this, because this is pretty much a Chaos Chariot in a Dark Elf army. It's toughness 5.
Yeah, and again, they have elves riding on top of it with I believe spears. 4. Yeah, and they're strength 4.
Leadership 9 still.
So on the charge, they're strength 5.
Yeah, weapon skill 5. They are Cold 1 riders on top of a chariot, and that is super good. It's got a 3+ armor save too, doesn't it?
3 up armor save.
Yeah.
It's toughness 5. It's got the 4 wounds. It's good.
It's exactly a Chaos Chariot, except for the guys on top are nowhere near as good as Chaos.
Yeah, and it's pretty cheap as well.
Yeah, well, it's almost the same price as a Chaos Chariot.
Yeah.
I think it's more expensive. It's not more expensive than a White Lion Chariot, though, and they are about equal. Whoever gets the charge in that regard is going to win.
Yeah.
Though the White Lion Chariot, if none of them charge, the White Lion Chariot would kick their ass.
Yeah.
But only because they've got strength 6 guys on top of the great weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Executioners, which these ones are pretty much what you're gonna see a lot of these guys as well. You're gonna see a lot of Witch Elves and a lot of Executioners, because they are significantly cheaper. They're the same price as White Lions, and so they're cheaper than the Phoenix Guard equivalent, which, like, the Blackguard are overpriced in this book. They should get a discount. The only reason they cost so much is because they're going to be compared to Phoenix Guard. But the White Lion equivalent, they're pretty much like Tomb Guard, except elves.
Yeah.
Because they're strength 6.
Yeah, they're strength 6.
With the great weapon.
Killing Blow.
Yeah, Killing Blow, they got a 5+ armor save.
Yeah, they've got the 5+. They just have the heavy armor. They've got the initiative 5.
Weapon skill 5. So, I mean, that, yeah.
Yeah, you're wounding most things on 2s, at least in infantry battle, and you got Murderous Prowess, so those ones, you reroll.
At least they're only initiative 5. Like, with initiative 5, they will attack at the same time as Chaos Warriors.
Yeah.
So the Chaos Warriors, you won't deplete their attacks before they get to make their attacks. So there is that. If they were initiative 6, Chaos Warriors would be crying bullshit. Because of that Killing Blow and the strength 6.
Still very good, because they're almost as cheap as core. In fact, they're as cheap as a lot of the different core units.
They are...
They're good.
They're almost comparable to Witch Elves. Like, the Witch Elves are just slightly cheaper. And, oh man, the Executioners were so
Yeah,
good.
these guys would be worth hoarding. They only get the 1 attack, but I mean, there's...
Great weapons are always worth hoarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of ways to up your attacks or whatever, especially since you have access to all spell lores again.
Yeah. And you don't really need to up your attacks. I mean, they're solid strength 6, leadership 9 fucking guys. So
Yeah.
Especially with the Murderous Prowess, strength 6 will wound toughness 4 on 2s, and you'll get to re-roll any of those 1s because you're a Dark Elf. So if you can consistently get yourself rolling to wound things on 2s, you essentially get to re-roll all failed wounds.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One thing we were forgetting to mention here is most of these units, is anything you can pretty much rank up except for the scouts that we've gone over, can take a magic standard worth up to 50 points.
Yeah, even the core can take 50, right?
Yeah, well, some of the core. The regular warriors can take only 25 points,
yeah.
But the witch elves, I believe, can take a 50-point banner. That's not the right page. Yeah, witch elves can take a 50-point banner.
What about the Corsairs there?
Corsairs, 25, so yeah. So the witch elves have a little...
They have a little... Well, they were a special unit. They pretty much just stuffed that special unit into core to make them more attractive and to get people to buy them.
To buy the overexpensive models. Anyway, still on special here. Going to the Reaper Bolt Thrower.
Oh, you have 2 pages of special.
Yeah, 2 pages of special.
Yeah, the Reaper Bolt Thrower, that's about as standard as it gets.
It's the same as the Bolt Thrower's ever been.
Yeah.
Except only difference this time is you can take 4 of them now. Instead of the usual 3 limit for special units.
Right. Well, actually, if it was... I mean, some bolt throwers you can take 6 of, and they are special. Whereas I believe the high, the high elves have rare, so they're in a better position in the army. So you got way better options for specials. So
yeah.
And harpies have been around. They got rid of the rule. There was a rule that made it so that Dark Elves ignored panic from harpies. Doesn't apply anymore. Harpies are just a flying unit with 2 attacks each.
Yeah.
Initiative 5.
Toughness 3, strength 3, naked. So yeah. They'll probably get shot down. They're not cheap either.
They are a flying unit, though. They're the same cost as Blackguard and Phoenix Guard.
Yeah.
But they're a flying unit. You can find uses for them. You have the Shades, though, so why not you take the Shades?
Yeah, it gets them strength 5 in there. Same
What are
initiative,
the Shades?
too.
The Shades with a great weapon are more expensive. Quite a bit more expensive, aren't they?
Shades with great weapons? Yeah, okay, yeah, they're a few points more expensive.
Yeah, they're significantly more expensive. And then we've got the special, the new Chariot.
The new Chariot, which
I don't know if that Cold One Chariot was in the previous one. If it wasn't, then it's new as well, and it's totally better than this one.
Yeah, Scourge Runner Chariot, it is a new Chariot on a Bolt Thrower, much like the High Elves Flying Chariot on a Bolt Thrower. This one is
It's a chariot on a bolter? It's a bolter on a chariot?
Yes, it's a bolter on a chariot.
Yeah. Its special thing is that it's strength 7 and it's a harpoon.
Yeah.
The bolter on top of it, that is. And it's...
Yeah, it has a special thing, so, like, you're rolling to hit and wound with your harpoon thrower. The thing with this thing, 1, strength 7, 2, if you're hitting a monster, it will drag it. And if you drag it, it's a d6 drag.
If you drag it over 3 inches.
Yeah,
right.
if you drag it over 3 inches, it'll take another automatic wound with no armor saves allowed. So you can potentially get 4 wounds, but you're also dragging a monster closer to you.
Yeah, there can be some fancy plays with that, like if you're trying to drag a monster out of a charge arc, or if you're trying to drag him away from, like, being within range to charge, there might be some potential there. But really, the thing is super expensive.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any more survivability than the high elf one. It's like, it's toughness 4, 4 wounds, and a 5-up armor save. That thing would get shot down so fast.
It costs as much as a Hydra, doesn't it?
Yeah, almost as much as a Hydra.
Yeah, just barely. And the thing is toughness 4 with 4 wounds.
Yeah.
And a 5+ armor save, too. It's a regular Tyrannic chariot from the High Elf Army.
Yeah.
It's strength 5 still. It's strength 4.
It's strength 4,
It's a fucking useless chariot. That's a goblin chariot in this army.
Pretty much. And it's not cheap either. Like,
yeah, it's like 3 times the cost of a goblin chariot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
fuck that.
if you really need a strength 7 bolter, well, you just shouldn't.
Yeah,
just flat out.
You shouldn't. You can get that strength with magic.
Or you can just lower the opponent's toughness. That's a better idea.
You can take 2 regular bolt throwers for this thing.
Exactly.
And they can shoot multi-shots. So yeah, just don't.
Yeah. Moving on to Hydra, which is in special now. It used to be rare.
Yeah, so you can take 3 of them, but they are actually reasonable now.
Yeah, they're reasonable. They lost their regen save, but they have
a whole new rule.
They have a different rule instead. They have if one head is severed, another takes its place, which is 2 different rules actually.
Yeah, it's got a few rules. Basically, what Hydras are is when they take wounds, their attacks increase. And at the end of every one of your turns, you roll a dice for all wounds that they have missing from their maximum. And on a roll of 4+, they recover a wound. So
it's like a regen save, but it doesn't deny combat res. At the end of your turn, you roll for each wound it's lost, and for every 4+, you get a wound back.
Yeah, and it only applies at the end of your turn. It makes them significantly easier to kill.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were toughness 5 before, but they're toughness 5 now with 5 wounds. Initiative of 2.
Yeah, initiative 2. They have a new special thing. They gain attacks now based on their wounds. So they have 3 attacks base, and then 5 for 5 wounds. So they can have 8 if they're at full health.
Yeah. No, they gain attacks as they die, isn't it?
No, it's Hydra has 3 attacks plus 1 for each remaining wound. So plus 5.
Okay, so it's got 8 attacks base.
So yeah,
that's not too bad.
So when it's fully healthy, but it does have low initiative,
it's
so
also
it will probably
only
take some.
It's also only strength 5, so it will wound toughness 3 on 2s, but it will have a hard time penetrating armor.
And you have a couple of upgrades here for it now. Like it is cheap, but it does have a couple upgrades you can have. It doesn't come with the breath.
Yeah,
base.
the fiery breath is an upgrade, so you'll have to pay for it.
So yeah, War Hydra with the fiery breath. It's just a strength 4 breath weapon with flaming attacks.
Standard.
It doesn't change based on his wounds like it used to. And it has a shooting attack you can upgrade it with now. It has an 8-inch range. Its strength is based on your wounds, and its shots. It has a multi-shot that are based on your wounds again.
So its strength is based on the wounds too?
Yep, strength and multi-shots, and it has flaming attacks.
So then it's, with starting wounds, it's strength 5. Okay, so that's not too bad.
And it has the elf ballistic skill.
Yeah, it's got ballistic skill 4.
Because Hydras are good at shooting, apparently.
Good enough. They've got Beastmasters. Like, that's the thing, is they actually include the Beastmaster models in the things, but they're no longer packs and handlers, are they? They're just a straight monster.
It's just the monster. The handlers don't get any attacks. You still get the models
so it's essentially it's lost 2 ward saves, because it had the packs and handlers randomization anytime it took a wound, and it had the 4+ regen. It no longer has that at all. And so there are significantly easier ways to counter a Hydra, and they cost a reasonable amount. They don't suck, and they're worth taking, but they're not overpowered as shit as they used to be.
Yeah, and I mean, they do have the Scaly Skin 4+, which is their only save now.
Yeah, it's not too bad, though. I mean, toughness 5 with a 4+ Scaly, for their price, they pretty much cost the same as a Bastillodon from the Lizardman list.
Yeah, and they honestly... They don't have the utility of a Bastillodon, but in combat they're much better.
They chew up a Bastillodon. And then we're on to rare.
On to rare units.
And these are new, and they're interesting.
The Doomfire Warlocks.
Yeah, they are caster unit. It's a caster unit.
Yeah, it's a fast cavalry caster unit, and
they are fast cavalry, right?
Yep, they're on
they're
Dark Riders. Yeah.
They also have a 4+ war save against everything that's not Slaanesh.
Yeah, so if you're going against Marcus Slaanesh or, Demons of Slaanesh, you'll lose that ward save, but these guys have a 4+ ward against everything else, which is pretty good.
4+ ward, like, pretty much your Phoenix Guard or Fast Cavalry now. And they can cast. The thing about them is that they're a level 2 wizard with 2 of the same, they're the set spells.
Yeah, they have 2 spells. One is from the Lore of Death. That's the -1 strength, -1 toughness. I think it's called Soul Blade.
Yeah,
and then they have the Dark Elf Magic Missile, which we'll get to later. It's strength 5.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's same range as, what was it, Soul Quench. Yeah. If they're equivalent of Soul Quench, it's harder to cast, but it is higher strength.
Yeah.
And so they always have those 2, 1 Magic Missile, 1 Hex. And they start at level 2. You have to take a minimum of 5.
Oh yeah, the upgrades. So if you have a unit, it's a level 2 wizard. For each rank additional to that unit, it's another additional wizard level up to +3. So they can be a level 5 wizard for you if you really want to.
Really expensive.
Very expensive. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
But they actually aren't bad in combat either. They have 2 attacks each plus a horse attack.
They have poison attacks.
And they have poison attacks as well. Yeah.
Yeah. They are straight regular stats for Dark Elf though, except for the 2 attacks.
Yeah, like they have the 2 attacks, so I mean, if they get into combat, they can actually do something. They have their 4+ ward, but they have those 2 spells too, so you can't afford a wizard, or you just kind of don't really want one in your army or whatever.
Or you want one in your rare slot.
Yeah, then you can get a level 2 just with 5 of these guys.
It is worth it, because for their price, for 5 of them, it's a level 2 wizard in any other army with a Dispel Scroll. And so with those 5, you get a level 2 wizard with the same 2 spells, so you always know what they have. They have a 4+ ward with 5 wounds. They can take panic tests when they take wounds, that's the only real difference, but it's still, a level 2 wizard with 5 wounds and a 4+ ward, for that price, is totally worth taking.
Yeah.
When you start taking more of them, all you really gain from it is like an additional bonus to cast and wounds. The usefulness starts to drop off.
Alright, moving on. Oh, the Bloodrak Medusa.
Yeah, it's essentially a part of the Bloodrak Shrine, which is also there.
Yeah, but you can take the Medusa by itself. It is an interesting unit, to say the least. I'm gonna go to its special rules.
Yeah, it's... I'll tell you what I think about it. It's Leadership 2 and it's Frenzy.
Ta-da!
So if you ever want to not charge something, it had better be under your Leadership bubble.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be.
Yeah, and it's not really all that. It's a Monstrous Infantry, and they can only be taken in units of 1, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's toughness 4 with 3 wounds. Regular Monster Infantry movement 6.
Movement 7.
Movement 7, that's not too bad. Weapon skill of 5. Yeah, toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, and all that
3
stuff.
attacks. They're a squishy monstrous infantry.
Yeah, they don't have any kind of save at all, do they?
Nope, none. Absolutely no save at all.
But they're special things.
Special things. So they're kind of like the Sepulchral Stalkers in the Tomb King's army, in that they have a stare that turns you to stone.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. So
do they have a ranged attack? Or
they do have a ranged attack. I'll go to the ranged attack first. Magical shooting attack, so it is magical, in case you're going battering against the World Dragon, whatever. It's 12-inch range, strength 4. Strength 4, unlike the strength 1, it still targets initiative.
Yeah, it's strength 4 that targets initiative, so that's actually pretty damn nice.
And it's got a multi-shot of 4, and it has Killing Blow too. If you roll a 6 to wound, you just flat out kill something with armor.
It's got Killing Blow, and it's rolling against your initiative, so if you ever are actually staring at Chaos Warriors, you have Killing Blow. If you're staring at anybody else, you're rolling against initiative. That's not too bad.
Yes, okay. When rolling to wound with a shooting attack, substitutes the target's toughness with its initiative, so no armor saves are permitted.
Now, for this one, unlike the Banshee's Howl, or like the Terrorgeist's Howl, she cannot use that in close combat. She has a different thing in close combat.
Yeah, in close combat, it's a rule called Avert Your Gaze. At the start of each close combat phase, before challenges are issued, enemy models in base contact with this model must pass an initiative test or suffer a strength 4 hit with Killing Blow special rule, and no armor saves allowed. It's okay. You'll kill lizard men.
Yes, okay.
You're still recording.
Yeah, I am making sure. That would be terrifying.
But the basic thing to say is, it's too expensive, you can't join units, it's not a hero so you can't get a lookout, so this thing will be shot down very, very fast.
Yeah, and it is more expensive than a bolt thrower. It's more expensive than a bolt thrower, and the range on its attack is, what, 8 inches?
Yeah, it's like 8 inches.
It's if you're within 8 inches, you're going to have to start taking those Leadership 2 tests to not charge something.
Yeah.
So
12 inches. So, I mean, it can go up and shoot on the first turn, then be killed immediately, and it's worth a lot of points.
It can't march and shoot.
Oh.
So it wouldn't even be able to
Yeah, well, there you go then. Not worth the points.
Yeah, it's
okay, but it's not worth the points.
It's interesting. I think it might be useful in another edition.
In another edition? Not this one, though.
No, not by itself. But you can take it as a part of a shrine, and it still gets that stare, right?
Yeah, it still gets the stare when it's part of the shrine. We'll get to that in a couple. Actually, let's go with Bloodrock Shrine now.
Shrine. It is tough. It's toughness 6 with 5 wounds. Yeah, toughness 6, 5 wound chariot, and its strength is 5.
It's a 6+ armor save.
Yeah, and like the Cauldron of Blood, which we're going to get to later, it can join units. So, like it can join units like a character. That doesn't mean it gets Look Out Sir, because it is only allowed to join units as a character. That's the only thing it can do as a character.
Even as a chariot, it can also march.
Yeah,
which is
march.
Interesting. And it gives magic resistance 1 to the unit. So there is a couple things. It is a movement of 5.
Yeah, it's got an infantry movement for elves. So it can march 10. They made it able to march so that a unit can push it, essentially. Without having to push it. It can be by itself.
And the thing with the shrine that the shrine has, it also has Aura of Agony. And Dark Elves get a +1 bonus to leadership within 6 inches, and enemies within 6 inches get a -1 to leadership.
Yeah, the -1 is fairly nice. The +1 is pretty...
redundant.
Yeah, it is absolutely redundant if you have any lord whatsoever.
Because, yeah, most of the lords are leadership 10.
If you're taking a caster lord, that will make your general leadership 10. So that is one benefit. Caster lords are pretty damn common. But most of you can afford a caster lord and a combat lord in an elf army, so why not just do that?
Yeah, and I mean, if you take the Medusa on top of it, I'm not sure if they can be... No, probably not. It's not a hero, so they can't be attacked separately. It would make the Medusa a bit...
it would make it tougher.
It would make it tougher
it's
because
it's tough to 6 with 5 wounds, but what's its armor save? Like 6? Yeah, its armor save is 6+, and that's its only defense. And you can shoot at it when it's in a unit, separately from the unit, so it will die. It's not terribly expensive. It's actually, it's only a little bit more expensive than that Scourge Runner Chariot. And put together, that thing would kick the Scourge Runner Chariot's ass.
Yeah.
Because that's a terrible fucking chariot.
It has 2 Shrine Keepers on it, which are, I think they're just...
Scourge Runner was wounded on 3s though with its bolt thrower. So
yeah, that's... Yay! Yeah, okay, but yeah, you have regular elves on top of it, 2 of them as the Shrine Keepers, and they can attack as well. So
yeah, and then she's
the Medusa is not bad on the shrine.
Does it still have Frenzy?
Does it still have Frenzy? No, it's not. They're not Witch Elves.
Hey, well, yeah, but I mean, the Bloodbank Medusa by itself has Frenzy.
Yeah, that's true.
So it doesn't have Frenzy?
It does not have Frenzy.
So it doesn't have Frenzy, so there's that. You can charge what you want to charge.
It won't charge out of your unit either.
You also, by putting it in a unit, it won't force your unit to pursue and overrun and like have the chances to charge. So it's not too bad for that. Like there are combinations that you can do. Like there are a lot of negatives to leadership with dark magic and with some characters and this shrine. You can make a leadership bombing Dark Elf army, especially if you took a caster with the Lord of Death.
Well, even dark magic has a leadership bomb ability as well. They have something similar to the Treason of Tzeentch, if anybody knows about that.
Yeah, from the Chaos book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had these guys. Yeah, it's
the Charybdis.
The rare Hydra.
The new Hydra, which it's an interesting one. It really reminds me of a Carnosaur without the multi-wound and a lot cheaper, and you don't have to ride it.
Yeah, it is kind of nice. Like the reason why it's like the Carnosaur is it's strength 7.
Strength 7
so it's
base.
2 more strength than your base Hydra. It is comparable points, absolutely comparable points to the other Hydra. It does not have the regenerating mechanic though, so it is.
Yeah, it just has its 5 attacks, but it does have a higher initiative at 4, so that's nice. And it has a higher weapon skill of 5.
Yeah, initiative 4 is a pretty big deal because 2 to 4, like you're above average human now.
And it has poison attacks. Strength 7 poison attacks are no joke.
Yeah, if it hits with all of its attacks, it also makes additional attacks. That's the special rule.
It's kind of different. It's if it directs all of its close combat attacks against the same model, it has to be against the same model, and it hits with all of them, then it gets another additional D6 strength 7 hits. It's not even attacks; they auto hit.
Auto hit. That would include a unit, though, I think.
Yeah, but it's only if you're directing against the same model.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think you would get it against a unit.
Maybe.
Because it is, like, units are generally considered models for that regard.
Okay.
Usually.
But yeah, it is.
And it also makes you reroll leadership tests or field tests.
Yeah, if it's have to, as long as it's in base contact with the unit, so this won't work for the terror test when it charges in there, but if it's in base contact with the unit, they have to re-roll all leadership tests, and there's a lot of leadership shenanigans in this.
Yeah, so like I said, there are the leadership bomb, the forcing leadership test re-rolls, which would get rid of your opponent's battle standard, and there's actually another thing that will get rid of that in the army as well. So yeah,
it's not bad. I would take, seeing how cheap it is, I would definitely consider a carry case.
I would consider one. They are toughness 5 with 5 wounds, just like the other Hydra, and they only have the 4+ armor save.
Yeah.
So it's big and scary strength-wise, but it will almost certainly die before it gets to the combat.
As long as you're getting something that shoots.
For the amount that it costs, though, that's fine. With the model being so big, it'll suck up cannonballs towards your more important targets. So.
Yeah. It's worth it just for that, even.
The cannonball will kill it just as easily as anything else that has 5 wounds. So.
Yeah. Alright, moving on to Sisters of Slaughter, the rare witch elves.
Yeah, the rare witch elves. I've heard that people haven't been liking these. I took a look at their rules. I like them. I would take them over witch elves.
Yeah, they aren't too bad. They have some interesting stuff, but like just stat line first of all, they're strength 3, toughness 3, like most elves.
Special.
But their weapon skill is 6, which is a bit higher than usual, and initiative 6, so these guys will likely be going first all the time.
Yeah, leadership 9 with 2 attacks as well.
With 2 attacks. The difference between them and witch elves is they don't get the additional hand weapon. They have a hand weapon and shield.
They have a hand weapon and shield with no armor. They have a 6+ armor save.
Yeah, so they have a 6+ armor save.
They have a 6+ armor save, and they cost as much as Phoenix Guard to take, but there is a reason to take them.
Yeah, it's because of their special rules.
Yeah, the special rules are exceptional. They actually, because of their special rules, I would rank them as the best flankers in any army, because of the fact that they don't need to charge on the flanks in order to get rid of your rank bonus.
Yeah,
when they charge in, they nominate one enemy unit in base contact with their unit to not gain any bonus from ranks. And that's at the start of combat. It's pretty much done at the same time as goblins throw nets.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, and yeah, so that's the one. You receive a plus. Oh yeah, that's okay. So Dance of Death is the first one. We'll do that.
What's that?
Models with this special rule have a 4+ ward save against attacks made in close combat. This replaces your parry save, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's not a parry save though, is it?
It says you cannot make parry saves, so it kind of replaces it.
Okay.
It's a 4+ ward against close combat.
Yeah, it's
attacks.
way better than a parry save because you'll get it against stomps and all that stuff.
Yeah. In addition, at the start of each round of combat, each unit of Sisters of Slaughter chooses one enemy unit in base contact. That unit receives no combat result bonus for extra ranks this turn.
Why the hell do they have a shield and talk about
when they don't have a parry save?
When they only have a ward save in close combat.
It's aesthetics. It really is.
This just makes no sense.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They're
6+
good
armor
just
save witch elves.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
And models with this special rule receive +1 to hit and wound if at least one enemy model in base contact with the unit has a higher weapon skill or strength characteristic.
Yeah, that is actually really good. What that translates to is that almost every single person that you fight will have a higher strength than them because they're strength 3. So anybody with a higher than base strength is going to give them +1 to hit and +1 to wound. It specifically says you can't hit on anything better than a 1. So you'll most likely be hitting on 2s and re-rolling misses, and then you'll be wounding whatever it is. It's all about pointing them at the right thing. If you point them at a monster that's toughness 8,
they'll actually do anything. Well, actually,
they'll wound it on 5s.
That's true.
Yeah, they would have wounded it on 6s. They get +1 to wound it. They wound it on 5s. Well, they're still being strength 3.
Yeah.
So you point them at the right thing, they can take down monsters potentially. They'll also have a 4+ ward against that monster and his stomps. And with the getting rid of rank bonuses, so long as they get in combat, you take 10 of these, and as long as one of them is alive for when you want to countercharge, they will get rid of that rank bonus. Even if that person dies in close combat, you'll still get rid of that negative for that turn. You'll still get rid of the rank bonuses for that turn. It doesn't stop a unit from being steadfast, and it's still incredibly useful because of that. It's in order to get cancel out flanks in most other armies, you'll have to take a unit of 15 or 20, just so that when they take casualties from shooting and magic and stuff like that, and from close combat, you can still guarantee that you have that extra rank to cancel out your opponent's ranks. With this, you just take 10. And as long as one guy is alive, you get it. And with the ward, they probably will survive for a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't get that against shooting, but then again, they're the same price as Blackguard, so...
Yeah, and way better than that, in
just
my
like
opinion.
better, yeah.
Yeah, if you give them a banner, so you have 10 of them with a banner, they can go into the front of any unit and make it an even fight.
Alright, we are on to heroes, but should we go over the lore first? I suppose?
Yeah, well, you can take sorceresses, obviously, and they get the +1 to cast on their lore, so we could just go to the lore.
Yeah, go into the lore.
One of the first hero choices you can take.
So, going over the lore attribute first of all.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's not useless, but it's not going to make too much of a difference too often. So
Yeah, you do want to remember it. You always want to remember your lore attributes.
Yeah, of course. When a Dark Elf wizard successfully casts a Hex, Magic Missile, or Direct Damage, so this doesn't go on augments, it's a damage thing anyway.
Yeah.
The spell is not dispelled, and the casting roll contains any double, so any like double 4s, double 5s, hell, even if you get an irresistible, they'll get this. The spell's target suffers 2d6 strength 1 hits with armor piercing.
Yes. Let's not ignore armor saves, that is armor piercing.
It's just armor piercing, strength 1, so -1 to their armor, probably wounding on 6s for the vast majority of things.
Yeah, pretty much everything, except for swarms and skinks.
Yeah. And if the casting control contains any triple, there's actually a typo in here, it's any treble.
Treble, yeah.
The spell's target instead suffers 3d6 strength 1 hits with armor piercing.
Yeah. Does it say anything about quads?
No, it doesn't. It just goes up to triples, and in either case, the hits are resolved after the spell has been resolved. So, it can be kind of useful, because if you wipe out a unit around a hero, only the hero's left, he still has to take those armor-piercing hits.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, it's free damage. I mean,
Yeah.
who would say no to free damage? And it's always going to be 2d6 hits, so it's not like it's d6 strength 1 start.